You are now joining Children of the Watch.
That's right. It's the #1 after show for all things Star Wars television. I am your host, Alex Maxwell, and joining me, as always, is
Mac Lacey. And Alex, we are here with our Obi-Wan Kenobi Part 3 breakdown. I see you're turning your hat around backwards because we're getting serious. We got a lot to talk about this week.
I actually just bumped the mic with it, but yes, that is it.
So, yeah, tons to talk about. It's going to be so fun. We're going to be going scene by scene, breaking down, talking about everything that happened, everything we think is going to happen, things that maybe the audience missed. You know, who knows? Because that's what we do here. We're Children of the Watch. We talk everything live action Star Wars TV.
That's exactly right. And before we jump into any business and stuff, let's just get what are your general overall thoughts on this episode? This was a huge episode,
massive. I mean, you definitely proved me wrong. I didn't figure we were going to get lightsabers crossing until, third act of the series or so. But
that shocked me.
Yeah, that was.
I was surprised by that.
Right into it. So you were spot on there. But yeah, this episode just seemed like a in some ways necessary, but then in some ways very surprising escalation of things, right? The stakes are higher. We're starting to look at kind of the broader narrative. I think we've got more of the moving parts in play already. So yeah, it just I feel like we're really in it now because this episode was crazy.
It was really a tale of two episodes. Like the first half of the episode was a different type of thing than the last half of the episode. And I mean, you should know by now, if you're listening, we're going to be talking spoilers, but come on, guys. Darth Vader.
Yeah, I know. I know.
In his prime, too. He was terrifying. Of course, we're going to be breaking everything that he did down. But oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think we've even nearly seen him in full force for what he's going to be in this series. I don't think that was anything compared to what we're going to get later. Because, we'll get to it, but it seemed like he was pulling a lot of punches and stuff like that. So,
yes.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, I'm like, if this is where we are in part 3 of this series, I can only imagine where we're going to be in part 6.
Oh my gosh, it's going to be epic. It's setting up for an amazing ending, I think, and we're halfway there. After this week, we have already watched half of Obi-Wan Kenobi, so I just encourage you to soak it in, take it in, enjoy it. Enjoy it. I want to say I watched these twice before doing the breakdowns. And the first time I felt myself getting a little nitpicky about some things, but on the second watch, I don't know what it was. It's like all that. Part of it's the expectation of watching new Star Wars for the very first time.
Yeah.
It kind of comes with the territory where you kind of feel like you have to nitpick for some reason. But then when you watch it again, it feels so fresh and it was so fun. So if you were feeling yourself do the same sort of thing, I encourage you to watch it again, because on the second watch, it is just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we're getting this on television, in our homes every week. We're living in such a wonderful era of Star Wars right now. Yeah. And I'm really glad that we're here to cover it with you guys, because this is so much fun.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure. So I guess let's just get the business out of the way so we can talk about it more.
So we want to hear what you guys think about this episode. So make sure you call into our Hello There hotline. That is 205-259-6675. Keep it under 3 minutes before it gets cut off. And then tell us who you are and where you're from to kind of help build that community.
Yeah, first names are great.
Well, hopefully you'll get on to the Hello There hotline episodes. If you haven't listened to that on our feed, make sure you go back and listen to that for part 1 and 2. They're just a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's some of the most fun we have doing the show, just because, interacting with y'all and hearing from y'all directly is, I think, the most rewarding thing we do as far as the show is concerned. But yeah, and if you like that Hello There hotline episode that you're going to get here in a little bit, or we've already got one out for parts 1 and 2, and you want another one, you can join our Patreon. We do all kinds of bonus content over there, and that includes an extra Hello There hotline episode for every episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi, exclusively for patrons. we've also got a cool Discord and all kinds of fun stuff over there. So if you like what we're doing, want to support us, want to get further involved in our community, check out Patreon. It's Mandalorian. It's Patreon/Mandalorian Watch.
Yeah, that's right. And it was a lot of fun this past one. We talked a lot about the trailers that we saw at Star Wars Celebration. So make sure you check that out.
Yeah, we sneak some bonus stuff in there from time to time. So
yeah. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at COT Watch. It's so fun to have the conversations over there on our social media platforms. And then you can find some cool merch at keepthewatch.com. We've got a Hello There t-shirt that is doing, I think people like it. So check it out. It's really, really cool. There's kind of an 80s vibe to it. So
it's good.
It's a lot of fun. So I think that does it for the business. I say we jump into this breakdown of part 3 of Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Let's do it.
So the director of this episode, surprise, is Deborah Chow.
You'll notice a theme as we do the Obi-Wan Kenobi breakdowns.
That's right.
That bit might not change.
Yeah. So our writers, we have several writers for this episode. The two main ones that were credited were Joby Harold and Hannah Friedman. And then Hassan Amini and Stuart Beatty were also credited. I think they're probably going to get credit for the overall series. I'm not sure how much hand they had in writing the actual episode. Yeah. But
I'm sure when you have multiple writers involved, it's easier to do. You have everybody can kind of contribute to the overall story, and then you divvy it up from there, and people, focus in on different segments of that story to tell. So, right. I think it's a good system so far.
Yeah,
right.
I'm loving it. Yep. So we begin the episode tracking along the cargo hold floor towards a confused and devastated Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's meditating, almost looks like he's praying with light shining down on him. The way that everything looks, it looks really cool there. And he's reaching out to Qui-Gon Jinn once again, and he says, "Are you there, Master?" But he receives no reply. Instead, he hears Reva's voice. "You didn't know. He's alive, Obi-Wan," which is from the last episode. He's just that's kind of playing in his mind a little bit. And then we cut to the innermost sanctum of Darth Vader's castle on Mustafar as two metal clamps lower towards Vader's body.
Yeah.
We went right away
for it. Yeah. No, wasted no time in getting to the good stuff. This episode was off to the races.
Yeah, part of me thought we would get the continuation of last week's scene maybe towards the end of this episode.
Yeah, that's what I figured. The Inquisitors would take a few more attempts at trying to capture Kenobi. He evades their efforts, and then Vader steps in kind of for the third act to finish things up. But that's not what we're doing.
That is not what we're doing at all, and I'm so glad for it. This was incredible. I loved every second of it. Then we hear Yoda's voice back in the cargo hold. He says, "Only pain will you find." And that's a line from Revenge of the Sith whenever Obi-Wan was looking into the holo recordings of what happened in the Jedi Temple, the massacre that happened during Order 66. Again, I think that's an important thing, Mac. We're going back to Order 66 again. That was a little audible clue about that specific moment.
There's a definitive breadcrumb trail for Order 66 and the initial kind of Jedi purge and stuff for sure.
Well, and that connection, right after Yoda says that, then we hear Reva's voice say, "Obi-Wan," mocking him like she was in part 2 in that sing-song voice. I don't know. I think there's a connection there. I think you're spot on. I think that girl that we saw at the very beginning of part 1 is probably Reva, and she might have even witnessed Obi-Wan and Yoda discuss those things and might have even heard Yoda say, "Only pain you will find." So we'll see. The clamps in Vader's castle disconnect 2 tubes from Vader's scarred back, and back in the cargo hold, Obi-Wan wrings his hands as he hears a memory of Qui-Gon's voice say, "Obi-Wan, promise me you will train the boy," which is from episode 1, The Phantom Menace. And then we get Anakin's voice from episode 3. "If you're not with me, then you're my enemy. Don't make me kill you." And as Vader's cybernetic arms and legs are attached, we hear Anakin's voice again. I do not fear the dark side. I see through the lies of the Jedi. And the armor continues to be attached to Vader. The neck brace goes around him like a collar, almost kind of like chains. That's kind of how it reminded me a little bit.
Yeah, I think, I mean, a collar is pretty fitting because Vader is pretty much Palpatine's attack dog, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that is exactly what he is. Yeah. Yep. So Obi-Wan is pretty much praying to Qui-Gon at this point, asking him for strength. And as Obi-Wan opens his eyes, it's intercut with Vader's iconic helmet lowering over Anakin. And we get a good shot of Hayden here. It's actually Hayden Christensen. And once it's attached, we hear him breathe and we cut back to Obi-Wan. And he thinks in his mind, he's coming, Master.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, what a sequence. Just the interplay between the two.
Right. Because the whole thing is Obi-Wan's inner monologue. All these little lines taken from all these places, they're like clearly pointing to, you know, pretty well-defined insecurities of Obi-Wan by this point. Like,
yeah,
he's thinking about, you know, and like the Vader suit up sequence is happening, but I think it's also happening in Obi-Wan's mind, right? Maybe, I mean, I don't know if he knows what Vader looks like yet, but he's just imagining whatever monster he's kind of helped create and what monster Anakin's become. And then we're actually seeing the reality of the situation, you know, unfold in real time. So I think it was a really, really, really well cut sequence, well directed. Yeah, powerful way to start the episode for sure.
Yeah, and you can just feel the guilt radiating off of Obi-Wan in this scene of like he's at probably the lowest point we've ever seen him.
Yeah.
I mean, like just the anxiety that's in him, and really all episode, there's this anxiety and panic in Obi-Wan that I have never seen before. And
I mean, take his worst moment in Revenge of the Sith, right? I mean, I think probably the worst moment of his life up until then was, you know, Mustafar.
Yeah.
And add 10 years of just festering to let those, like, let that feeling just kind of find roots, you know, in his mind. And I love like where we've decided to find Obi-Wan in the series, because there's so much room for possibility and growth and renewal, and that's just like a fun place to be at with that potential on the table.
Yeah, I always like the tropes of the once hero needs to learn how to be a hero again. I like those, like the Dark Knight Returns, even, you know, is kind of that.
I think that's a narrative that's relatable to everybody at some point.
Oh yeah,
right. We've all been in these periods where, you know, whether it's just like burnout or maybe we failed at something or whatever, but like the whole getting back on the saddle thing, you know, getting back in the fight, that's just something that resonates with all of us, I think.
Absolutely. So Darth Vader emerges from his rejuvenation chamber and he marches out, his cape billowing behind him. Outside, we see Mustafar, which is the planet that Obi-Wan and Vader fought on in episode 3. It's where he decided to build his castle. And in case you didn't listen to our voicemail hotline episode, I believe that's where we talked about it. But the reason he built his castle on Mustafar is to really harness the power of the dark side in an attempt to bring Padme back to life. So like that's why he's there, and it's like a constant reminder of his failures and what happened, and Obi-Wan and Padme, all that. It's just like not a good place, but you know, that's where he chose to build it. So we see lava erupt as we turn upward towards Vader's castle. We also see it in Rogue One as well. Inside, Vader sits on a throne speaking to the third sister, Reva, and he demands to know where Obi-Wan is. And Reva says he will pay for the Grand Inquisitors, implying she's telling everyone it was Obi-Wan that stabbed him. But before she can continue, Vader cuts her off. So that's really interesting. She's kind of playing that a little bit.
Yeah.
For everyone of like, I didn't stab him.
Watching the angling and everything like that on Reva's part is fun. She's just like a very intriguing character to me. I love watching somebody kind of work, like a bad guy work within the other bad guys ranks to accomplish their own, goals and stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's super compelling so far, like with this scene, and I don't know. Yeah, I'm excited to see how that plays out.
Yeah, and I feel like this is like her best episode, like in terms of everything that happens with her and stuff. There's
Yeah.
some really interesting things that happen with her that if you're really paying attention to her reactions to things, it's like, ooh, that's giving us some clues there.
She has such an emotionally driven performance.
Yeah.
We're kind of used to Star Wars bad guys being a little bit stoic, like a little bit aloof,
Yeah.
kind of detached from the horrible things they're doing, because they're just evil, and that's kind of the whole that's all the story there is to it.
Right.
This is, you can tell there's a deep feeling behind what she's doing, and I think that's why it's so compelling to me.
Yeah, she's a very emotional character, Riva is, and I'm interested to find out more about her. And I just want to say too, we love Moses Ingram, and I thought it was awesome how the Star Wars account and Ewan McGregor really stood behind her with everything that's going on with her and stuff. So I just want to say I think that's really awesome to see the community come together and support her as a person and stuff. So that was really, really cool.
Yeah, for sure. We like to focus on the positive and stuff we love, and so far we're really loving Moses Ingram's performance, and it was cool to see just like the outpouring of support and everything from fans, stars, the whole nine. So
yeah, for sure. So Darth Vader cuts Riva off and says the Grand Inquisitor means nothing. Kenobi is all that matters now. Is that understood? How cool is it to have James Earl Jones back as Darth Vader?
I know, it's so good. I actually had somebody ask me that question at work. They're like, is James Earl Jones doing the voice and everything? And like, I think so, right? I mean,
yeah, he's credited as doing the voice. There was I saw some people asking if there was a little bit of the AI thing going on too with his voice, like Luke in Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah. It seemed like there was a little bit of that, maybe because some of the lines were delivered kind of like Hayden would deliver them. So I'm wondering,
maybe it's
I'm
like
wondering
a
if they're
combination.
Taking his performance and then like layering like James Earl Jones's voice kind of to that. Does that make sense?
That would be cool though. Yeah, that would be cool.
I love that because it's like this nice little hybrid performance thing. It's a collaboration with like two very important people to leave their mark on the character,
Yeah, that is cool. That is cool. So Riva knows not to push it with Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Vader continues, I have been watching you, third sister. I know what it is you seek. Prove yourself, and the position of Grand Inquisitor is yours. Fail me, and you will not live to regret it.
Yeah.
Whoa. So that kind of tells us some things. She is not his secret apprentice, but she is kind of angling to become the Grand Inquisitor.
Right. And we know that like the Grand Inquisitor was kind of a threat to Vader. Like Vader views him as a rival in a way. And so it makes sense that Vader would kind of have a vested interest in maybe like kind of propping up his own person for the role, that he's going to kind of view as
not
maybe
Palpatine's.
He views her as like maybe inexperienced or young or like easily manipulated. And I think she probably is at this stage, just like with the emotion that's behind everything she does. So I don't know. It's just cool to see.
Yeah, it is really
shaping
cool
up nicely.
It is. Darth Vader rises and stares out into the hellish abyss outside his window. Now, I do want to say on first watch, the thing that bothered me the most with this episode is I wasn't very impressed with how the inside of his chambers looked.
I have a theory on why.
Okay, go ahead.
So I told you I think they have, because Hayden is in the suit a lot.
Yes.
At least some of the time. And we know that. Hayden is not a big guy.
He is not.
And Darth Vader has to be a big character, right?
Yeah, he is tall, but he's not like David Prowse.
Yeah, he's not like he's not 6'8".
No, he's not.
I think they've done some things with scale to force perspective of Vader being a little bigger than he is. I think the set is just like a tiny bit scaled down. I think maybe this is a smaller proportionally helmet. I think it's maybe a little bit smaller to give the impression of like a bulkier body, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's what's at play, and maybe kind of that like uncanny valley thing you were feeling.
I think it was probably that, and like for some reason Darth Vader really likes marble. Like the whole place is marble inside, and like it's so it's like you can see the specks in the marble a lot. It just kind of threw me off a little bit.
I expected his chamber to be like made of obsidian, just like pure black, like all
same. So, but he's he's got he likes the nice things.
He has a passion for interior design, Alex. Look, he gets home from a long day of being a Sith, giving into the dark side. He's got to have a nice place that he really feels like he's like been able to nest and really he's turned that castle into a home. You know what I'm saying? So that's don't begrudge the man his marble accents in his interior design style.
It's not an accent though. It's the whole thing. The whole chamber is marble.
Sometimes maximalism is minimalism.
I love it. But I mean, like on the second watch is like, oh, why did that bother me on the first one? And again, I think it's just the high expectations that we like come into watching a very brand new Star Wars thing.
Yeah, I think subconsciously, when we don't know if we like something yet, we're like constantly looking for all the things that could be wrong with it. You know?
Yes,
I think that's the subconscious. And then like you're like, oh, I've solidified that I like this thing, so I'm free to just enjoy it now.
Exactly. Yep. That's it. That's a thank you. So we cut back to Obi-Wan Kenobi and Leia in the cargo hold, and Obi-Wan is tinkering with something. He's got a screwdriver, and Leia wants to know how much longer it's going to be and if he can make it go any faster. And once Obi-Wan confirms that he can't, she asks if he can use the Force on it, and he says that's not how the Force works. Kind of a nice little parallel between Finn and Han and The Force Awakens there. I like that. And Leia goes on to ask, well, how does it work, the Force? What does it feel like? And Obi-Wan says, have you ever been afraid of the dark? And she nods. And he says, how does it feel when you turn on the light? And Leia says, I feel safe. And Obi-Wan replies, yes, it feels like that.
Yeah.
What a great set of lines right there.
I know. I love that we get to see Obi-Wan taking his first step into kind of having to explain things without all the Jedi language kind of built in, like the Jedi Order language. Because by the time we're at A New Hope, he's got a whole different approach to explaining the Force and everything like that. So this is maybe the first time he's had to explain it since the fall of the Jedi Order, you know? So I love that he's like telling this to Leia, and he's almost seeming to remind himself of that fact as well as he says it.
Well, it also reminded me of the Master and Apprentice novel about Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon has a very, very similar line of like, I choose the light because it's the light. And like, it's, like he has a very similar language there.
Yeah, he says, like, we don't choose the light because we're afraid of the dark. We choose the light because it's the light, you know? Yep. And that's important to remember in a lot of things in life, I think. So wise lessons that can be gleaned from Master Qui-Gon.
Dude, I love Star Wars.
It's the best.
I love Star Wars. It is the best. So then Obi-Wan hands her Lola, and Leia is excited that she is fixed. Then the ship rumbles, indicating that they're about to land, and the transport ship lands on a flat mesa. The ramp opens, and a mining droid watches over the cargo ship as it's unloaded. And to the side, Obi-Wan and Leia make their way out of the ship. And as we pull out over Mapuzo, we see the Empire is very much there. And the pair walk through kind of a California Tython-ish desert.
Kind of looking like the same planet, if we're being honest.
Now, I will say, I feel like they did a better job with this than The Mandalorian did with Tython in terms of making it feel
California.
Yeah, it felt like, okay, there are some different things on this planet that it's not California. But we learn that it is indeed a mining planet, and Obi-Wan checks the coordinates that Haja gave him in the last episode and doubts that they're even correct. But Leia wonders why he would lie. And Obi-Wan angrily tells her that not all people are good. And something that I've really noticed these last 3 episodes is how quick Obi-Wan can just kind of go off. Obviously, like there's like this lingering anger that's in Obi-Wan that is not present in the prequels, and it's not present in A New Hope. It's not even present when he has that episode in Star Wars Rebels with Ezra. He's not at peace yet. And so like little things set him off pretty quickly.
Yeah. Don't you think Leia kind of feels like a new Padawan too?
Oh,
he'd be kind of afraid to start too far down that road, you know? So I
he
think
doesn't want to get
kind
attached
of a closed off approach. Yeah.
That's good. That's good insight there. I like that. So Obi-Wan notices that Mapuzo has completely changed. The Empire has completely ravaged it. And Leia's confused, thinking the Empire is supposed to be helping everyone. So like she's not aware yet.
Child.
Right. Yeah. But like she is 10. Right. And she's not aware of like the evils of the Empire just yet. And so that was kind of nice to see. Like her eyes are starting to be opened at such a young age to everything that's going on, obviously planting the seeds of rebellion in her for later. So that's pretty cool to see that origin of General Leia really be birthed right here. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, Obi-Wan even kind of brings up the fact that like there's people out there trying to help, like, you know, your dad. And so I think that is kind of a nod to the rebellion. And I was like, oh, Alex might be right too. We might be getting some Rebel Cell action going on, kind of the early stages of the Rebel Alliance before it is an alliance.
Yeah, I think so. I really do think so. And like, I'm trying to think of like, what's a major Rebel Cell that we know for sure is operating?
The Ghost Crew, right? Oh, Saw Gerrera.
Saw Gerrera. So the Ghost Crew's coming. So you got Hera and Kanan, as far as we know, they are linked up.
Yeah.
But the Partisans, they in Jedi Fallen Order, they're already doing stuff.
Yeah. So if you don't remember who Saw Gerrera is, he is played by Forrest Whitaker in Rogue One. He's, you know, kind of he's a rebel kind of guerrilla style leader, and he uses some tactics that a lot of people on the good guys side find extreme and and like excessive.
Yeah.
So it would be I think it'd be an interesting interplay between Obi-Wan, the guy who is not doing anything because he's afraid of doing it the wrong way. And then the guy who's doing everything he can, even if it's the wrong way.
It's okay if we do it wrong. We'll do it right the next time. Who cares?
As long as we're doing it.
Exactly. That's Saw's attitude.
And now you know our approach to podcasting.
Ooh, that's okay. I just had another thought. If we do see the Partisans and happen to see Saw, is there a young Jyn Erso? Or is that right on the timeline? When does that little prologue happen in Rogue One?
That's a great question. She's what, 1920 in Rogue One?
Maybe around this time period.
So it could be around this time that she's still kind of hanging around with Saw. We'll see.
I don't know.
Well, or maybe we won't, but it's an interesting
question, maybe we won't.
Probably we won't. But
yeah, we honestly have no idea, but it's fun to speculate. So the camera begins to tilt as we push on Obi-Wan as he talks about Bail and how he's trying to do good for the Empire. And there's something wrong. The camera starts to tilt. You start to get the sense that Obi-Wan is feeling something. He notices something in the distance, and there's a solitary figure in a hooded brown robe, a Jedi robe. The figure begins to turn, and it's Anakin Skywalker.
Boom.
Wow. So obviously he's having a vision of Anakin.
Yeah.
And that's Hayden Christensen. It's cool to see him as Anakin right there.
Yeah.
Do you think it's a vision or it's like guilt?
I think it's Qui-Gon.
Oh.
I think it's maybe a warning.
Ah.
So the whole time Obi-Wan's been trying to reach out with Qui-Gon. As far as we know, he hasn't been successful in getting in touch with Qui-Gon from kind of beyond the grave. What if this is this first little inkling that, like, okay, I can't like show you my voice or anything like that, but I can show you something from within your own memory.
It's like a warning, yeah.
And like, hey, he's on his way, you know?
Dude, I love that idea.
It
That's
could
really
definitely
good.
it could definitely just be like Obi-Wan being, either a vision just kind of his own volition and ability, or it could just be a mental thing. Like he's got to be wondering if he's going nuts, right?
Oh, for sure. For
like
sure.
he feels absolutely unstable. And we've all been there. We've all seen Anakin Skywalker on the side of the road before.
Oh man, that's really good though. That's good insight. You're bringing it tonight, Mac. I love it.
I'm having an on episode. The stars are aligned. I don't know. Let's see what else we can get into. Bring it on, Alex. Serve me up.
Leia calls out to Ben, breaking the vision, and when Obi-Wan looks back, Anakin is gone. And then we cut to the Inquisitor shuttle as it head towards the fortress Inquisitorius, and Reva strides out when it lands, making her way into the massive underwater facility, and she makes her way into a conference room where the fourth sister, I got to correct myself from my last breakdown. I said the sixth sister. I meant the fourth sister. The fourth sister and the fifth brother sit down at the conference table. Now, did you notice at the back of the room in the lining, the entire conference room, there's lightsabers on display?
Yeah, I didn't notice, but I think I saw a screenshot at some point today or whatever. But yeah, it's cool.
It's
I
like
didn't
trophies.
notice on first watch. It's a cool little detail. Like they've been at this for a minute, right? Like,
yeah. Yeah.
This isn't their first rodeo.
They've got some Jedi, that's for sure. Yeah. So Reva concludes that they had to go to a mining system because she checked the manifest, but the fifth brother seems very annoyed by her taking charge and uses the Force almost to slam her down into the conference table. But she kind of stops herself a little bit, and he doesn't want her to sit in the Grand Inquisitor's seat. He says that seat is his, not hers. He's next in line. So I guess they all think the Grand Inquisitor is dead, and maybe he is. I don't know.
I know. I'm like, we assumed he was just gonna pop right back up this episode or next episode with a robo tummy and be good to go. I don't know at this point, and I'm slowly preparing myself to come to the terms with the fact that we might have two deaths for the Grand Inquisitor, and just how to deal with that. There's
how do we live in a post-2 in Grand Inquisitor world, Mac?
Yeah, I don't know what that does to things. Surely not. Surely
we'll figure it out though. I've already got the story in my head. There's two of them. They're brothers. They were twins. They were both Jedi Temple guards. One was in charge. Other died. The other one ended up becoming the Grand Inquisitor. There you go. They're brothers.
You're
twins.
Right. You're right.
Yep. So Reva informs them that she's already taken the liberty of speaking with Lord Vader, and he has put her in charge of this hunt, and she demands that the remaining probes be sent out immediately. The fifth brother and fourth sister are shocked that she has spoken directly to Vader, so they have to follow her lead for now. And the fifth bro says, I will get what I deserve, third sister, and so will you. So we're starting to see why the rule of two was instituted.
For this exact thing. It's easier to just keep infighting and everything out of it if you've only got two people. Like the Sith at one point destroyed themselves just
because of this that type of thing right here.
Because of this exact thing. And then Darth Bane was like, nah, there's going to be two of us, a master and an apprentice.
That's it.
Every Sith has been trying to do something different
since. But man, nothing works like the Darth Bane method, man.
I know.
It's the best one. So Reva stares at the head chair and whispers, I hope so. I certainly hope so. And then inside the fortress, the probes are launched out into outer space. And then back on Mapuzo, Obi-Wan reminds Leia that they are farmers and she doesn't talk. Leia gets some clarification on that before Obi-Wan realizes that there's nothing at the coordinates. And Leia wonders, like, maybe the people who are supposed to come are late, but Obi-Wan is convinced they've been duped.
Yeah.
Down the road, I spelled road wrong in my notes. That's embarrassing. Nobody can see it, but I just told everyone.
Everyone, you should publicly shame Alex for a
Please
typo
do.
in an 11-page note document on one episode of television.
Down the road, a speeder truck zooms down the dirt road, and Leia has an idea to wave it down, but Obi-Wan is, of course, very wary, and it comes to a stop, and there's a mole driving it.
Yeah. Like, didn't really do anything to dress it up. It's just a mole. I love it.
It's a mole with clothes on.
Yeah. He's just like he's a bipedal mole. It's so good.
Love it. I think this is Zach Braff. He's credited in the episode, and when I watched it a second time, it kind of sounded like him. I'm pretty sure this is his character. So he stops. Leia introduces herself as Luma, which means light, by the way, and her friend. And then she quickly corrects herself, Father, Orden. And he says, hey there, I'm Freck. Now, on first watch, I thought he said Frank, and I kind of wish it was Frank.
Just a mole named Frank in Star Wars. That'd be the best.
It's Frank the Mole, everyone.
Yeah, just Frank. I mean, we've got a Ben in this show, so
why not? Why not? So Leia tells Freck the Mole that they were visiting the planet and got lost in a field, and Freck is very suspicious. He says, that's weird. That's a weird story. Freck says he's heading towards the nearest port, and he invites them to jump in, and as they climb into the truck bed, there's an Imperial insignia painted on a flag in the back of the truck.
Yep.
And so this Freck guy is an Imperial sympathizer. He is all about the Empire, and you kind of get that sense as they continue their trip. Like
we've all gotten bad vibes from a bumper sticker that would be correct, right? We've all been there.
Yeah. So like as soon as Obi-Wan sees it, he's like, oh no. So they ride through as Leia eats a snack, and Freck talks with them, asking them questions. He's a big fan of Tall, where they're supposed to be from. The people of Tall are great. They're great, obedient people. They do exactly what the Empire says. Then they spot some stormtroopers in a field, and he comes to a stop to give them a ride. And they already know Freck. So Freck's a local. They all know Freck. Freck's a great guy to them. Freck wants them to meet his new friends, Orden and Luma.
Yeah. This scene is interesting because tension immediately, right? This is bad news in the back of the truck full of stormtroopers. Bad news. It also goes a long way to just kind of like humanize the stormtroopers a little bit.
Yes.
Like they're dudes that have been out here every day this week, and they know this guy that sometimes gives them rides, and they complain about stuff at work. Just like the speeder being late and all that. So I'm like, all right, I've never been able to relate to a stormtrooper as much. Then they quickly lose all the sympathy they earn.
Yep. So Freck asks what they're doing out there, and a stormtrooper replies that they've been sent to look for a Jedi, and Freck hopes that they're not in any danger, indicating the propaganda is working. Like, Jedi are dangerous. You need to watch out for Jedi. And one of the trooper begins asking Obi-Wan questions. He wants to know what they're doing out there. And Obi-Wan tries to get out of it by saying, oh, it's a long story. But the trooper remarks that we got a long way, so you might as well tell the story. I like this scene because it shows how quick Leia is on her feet. She's very quick.
She is much better at this whole thing than Obi-Wan is at this point. Like, you see Obi-Wan struggling with it. He's both like out of practice of doing this whole adventuring thing, and then also just like in bad shape in general. Like, he's just not as well equipped to handle these kind of situations as he used to be, you know, which is just kind of further indication of the internal toll that has been exacted.
Yeah, and so Leia says, he brought me here to see the place where he met my mother before and then she kind of trails off. And Obi-Wan plays along. He says, she's not with us anymore. Been a very difficult time. And they start questioning if they've seen a Jedi. And Leia remarks, maybe a Jedi isn't even on the planet. And Obi-Wan says, they know what they're doing, Leia. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
The stormtrooper is like oddly invested into their story.
I mean, the whole time they're checking them out. Like they are investigating. They've been told to be on the lookout for a Jedi and everything. So like, I mean, he's vetting a little bit.
To me, it kind of played off almost like, wait a second, that was inconsistent. Tell a better story. Like, that's how the vibe I got was like he was just upset. Like, you said the wrong name. But you're right. They're investigating. So the stormtrooper turns to Obi-Wan, and the stormtrooper's super angry. He didn't call her Luma. Super angry. And Obi-Wan recovers. He says, that was her mother's name. I get confused. Like I said, it's not been easy. Sometimes I look at Luma and I see her mother's face. Yeah. Now, here's how Obi-Wan gets away with that. He tells the truth in the lie.
Yep.
Which is what he does to Luke. He tells the truth.
That's what he's been doing his entire life, as far as we know.
The man's a liar. So he gazes deeply at Leia, and the truth in his words is what convinces the stormtroopers. And then they get to this complex back in the mountains, and the troopers get off. And as they continue, Obi-Wan notices Leia staring at him, and Leia knows he knew her real mother. And she says, the whole time I've known you, you've been hiding something, lying to me. And then she asks, are you my real father?
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
The oof meter went off in me. Like, ugh.
Just on like from a few different directions, right?
Yes. Yeah.
You've got like, I mean, Obi-Wan says as much, he says like, I wish I could say that was true, but I'm not. And I really think he does. Cause like, think about, in that moment, he's like, if I was your father, you wouldn't be like growing up not knowing me and things like that,
Sorry, Corky. So I'm sorry. I guess I have to explain that statement. Corky Kryze is a Mandalorian who might be Obi-Wan's son, with Satine Kryze, the leader of the new Mandalore movement in the Clone Wars. I'm not going to say anything else about that, but
do your own research.
Yeah. So yeah, I think you're right. Like he is kind of looking at her saying like, yeah, I wish I could be your father in this moment, because, we would know each other, but also like he
like
can't
your father
tell
wouldn't be evil.
Yeah. He can't tell the truth still.
No.
Like he can't tell her. Leia is disappointed and looks off in the distance and says, sometimes I try to imagine what he was like, talking about her father. And this next line is very reminiscent of Return of the Jedi and Luke and Leia's conversation about their mother. Yeah. And Obi-Wan begins to sympathize with her, and he says, I know the feeling. As Jedi, we're taken from our families when we're very young. I still have glimpses, flashes really, my mother's shawl, my father's hands. I remember a baby. And Leia says, a baby? Obi-Wan says, yes, I think I had a brother. What? We got Kenobis, plural.
We got a Obi-Wan brother confirmed.
That's exciting.
Yeah, just knowing. I mean, Star Wars is a family affair. It's cool that there's another Kenobi out there we don't know anything about.
It's nice. I don't think anything will come of that. That's just like a nice little line to say like, yeah, I had a family once. I kind of remember them like you kind of remember Padme a little bit. And, but it is at least there for someone to play with down the line, because you got to imagine force sensitivity runs through that family. So like maybe something after episode 9, we could see another Kenobi using the force. Who knows?
Yeah. I don't know. It'd be cool.
That would be cool. So Obi-Wan goes on to talk about his brother. Really don't remember him. Wish I did. And you can hear the hurt in his voice, his own longing for a family, but he recovers. Then I joined the Jedi and I got a new family just like you. So that whole conversation is really cool on multiple levels. I know a lot of people kind of have been viewing the Jedi taking kids as like they're no better than the Sith or Palpatine or anything. But I think for the most part, what we know is families like willingly gave kids up. Like they didn't force that to happen.
Right. It's a complex issue too. I'm sure that it kind of varied from family to family too.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are a lot of different ways that scenario can play out. But I think like raising a force sensitive child, you probably encounter a lot of challenges like early on, and it's like, and especially in a time where, like the galaxy's not super safe, like in times of war, or like, everybody kind of had a sense that something was about to happen, like in the Phantom Menace, like everybody's kind of on edge. Like you're probably going to like think mostly about your child's safety and understanding that like they're going to be safer if they like receive this training and things like that. So, I like to think at least that that's how it usually goes. It's like, this is like a sad parting. We love each other. This is sad, but like also this is for the benefit of the galaxy ultimately.
Yeah. I like to assume there's good intentions with that for sure. So before they can continue their conversation on their families, Obi-Wan sees they're heading towards an Imperial inspection point. And you can't go forward because there's lasers instead of a stop sign. And Freck knows all the stormtroopers. So he gets out, he speaks with them. They ask who's in the truck bed. And Freck says they need to check them out. I don't know about these guys back here. And Obi-Wan puts his hood over his head, being real suspicious. And they begin to question them. And then they ask them to step out, initiating Protocol 23. And one by one, they get out, his head low as an Imperial probe floats forward, and they order him to raise his head as his face is scanned, and the scanner flashes red, IDing him, and then Obi-Wan quickly takes out his blaster, and he takes out the stormtroopers and the probe droid, and then he uses Freck as a shield, and Obi-Wan then blasts the guard on the watchtower, and he falls and is cut in half by the lasers.
Yeah.
Mac, Obi-Wan is an expert at cutting people in half. Just when you think there's not another way to do it, Obi-Wan will find a way to cut you in half.
He did it without a lightsaber.
Amazing.
He's really an innovator in both the cutting you in half school of combat and the fists of steel punching Beskar bare-fisted style of combat. He's really kind of a pioneer in both of those, really storied and highly, regarded schools of Jedi combat.
100%. So he pistol whips Freck in the back of the neck. Poor Freck. And turns, but a trooper has Leia. And just as he's about to put his blaster down, he shoots the trooper, and a scared Leia runs to him. I think it's starting like to really set in with Leia, like, oh, this is getting real. And Obi-Wan tries to pull the lever to the lasers down. I love the visual consistency of the lever. It looks like the Death Star lever.
That one.
Oh, that's very sad. Can you do that one more time? One more time. That's nice.
That one wasn't as good. First time was better, but
so it doesn't shut off. So he shoots it, and they pass on foot. Then a troop transport approaches with more stormtroopers. Oh no, Mac. They unload and surround them as an Imperial officer walks down behind them, played by Indira Varma. You might know her from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
She was a character with Pedro Pascal, the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
They were from Dorne. They were really cool. And then they completely dropped that whole storyline because they ran out of material from the books.
Yep. pretty much. It's funny. Game of Thrones is like my ambient show right now. It's like when I'm just wanting something on while I'm doing something else, I'll throw it on. A lot, like in the first couple seasons, I was getting sucked into the TV show. It wasn't working, but like in the middle and later on, have more of an ability to zone it out. But I just got to that part, so it's funny. Like when I saw her this morning, I was like, oh,
yeah, there she is. Yeah, she's great, and she fits the part of an Imperial officer so well. She kind of looks the part, like she's scowling as she comes down. The troopers demand them to lower to the ground, and as they do, the Imperial officer suddenly shoots them in the backs. Great twist right there.
Yeah,
I
like
love that.
and it's not even like it's set up. Like,
Yeah,
that like with what's Camille's character's name? Forget, starts with an
Haja.
H. Haja.
Haja.
Yeah. So that like there's the potential that he's legit, and there's kind of this like Jedi Underground Railroad type thing going on.
Yeah.
So, but you don't know until this moment, and then you're like, it was
real. Yep. So she says that she will take them the rest of the way, presumably the person they were supposed to meet originally, like you said, and they follow her to the transport. And then we cut back to the Fortress Inquisitorius in the conference room as they study a display of Mapuzo. It's in the mid-rim. It's a Type 2 planet. I looked up what a Type 2 planet is in Star Wars, and usually Type 2 planets mean most species need to wear some sort of breathing mask. So I'm concerned for everyone's safety on this planet.
I think most species does not include humans in this case, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, and moles.
Yeah, moles.
Moles are okay.
Excluded. I mean, we didn't see any Rhodians or anything, so
right.
Yeah.
So they know Obi-Wan is on Mapuzo, and we also learn they are strip mining for Ventrium, which is on the surface, and that is valued at 500 credits per gram. I got that information from Star Wars Galaxies, the old MMO. That's where that comes from. Amazing. And then we learn the fifth bro has already informed Darth Vader about where Obi-Wan is.
New teacher's pet. Come on. Take a new spot. What are you
They're
doing?
all trying to brown nose so much.
Oh, yeah. Just a bunch of suck-ups.
Reva says it's fine for him to take the credit now, but she will be standing by his side, meaning Vader, when it's over. And she marches out of the room while the others prepare to go to Mapuzo. And then back in a mining camp on Mapuzo, Indira Varma's character was on the way to meet them, but then she got held up by the Empire. So she kind of explains why she wasn't there at first. And she informs them that everything is going into lockdown and that she can get them to a transport, but the pilot isn't scheduled to leave for a few hours, so they have to lay low. So I thought for a second, I was like, ooh, I wonder who the pilot is. But as we see at the end, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. I thought for a split second in my early morning hearing, I thought she said pirate.
Oh,
and I was
Hondo.
Like, Hondo.
That would be cool. Yeah. One day. So she leaves them in the alley to go make sure things are clear. Obi-Wan watches, and then he notices a Rogue One type shuttle cargo fly off from the upper spaceport. That was really cool.
Yeah.
I like those ships. They look like giant turtles flying. Obi-Wan looks back to see Leia glumly petting Lola, and he bends down in front of her, and she confesses that she didn't mean to run away. And we start to see the softer side of Obi-Wan start to come out, and he reassures her that it wasn't her fault, and he promises her that she's going to be home soon. And then he checks to see the officer across the way in a hut staring through an open door. And so the pair make their way inside, and they get inside this droid maintenance workshop. And then there's a mining droid named Ned B, and he greets them silently. Now, this droid reminds me of LB from the Knights of the Old Republic comics. That was also a cargo loader droid that could not speak. So I feel like that was maybe intentional.
Homage. Yeah. Homage for sure.
We got our Knights of the Old Republic.
We got it in there.
So that was nice.
If we don't utter the actually, everyone doesn't know this. If we don't utter the phrase Knights of the Old Republic every time we get on these mics, there's actually a generational curse that takes hold of us. We turn into toasters. It's
Darth Revan and Darth Malak have actually it was the Rakatans that placed this curse on us.
It's an infinite empire technology. The toasterification ray. It's
We have to do it.
You're not allergic to gluten, are you? Because that'd be
No, I love
Okay.
gluten. Big
Me
gluten
too.
fan.
I'm a
I
huge
wish I
gluten-
was, honestly.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Some things in
Leia,
life would be easier for me.
yeah. Leia introduces Lola to Ned and then is informed that Ned cannot speak. Ned B opens a hidden door with a lever on the wall. And can you do the lever sound, please?
I'm also going to take this opportunity real fast. Anybody with celiac disease or like anything like that,
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to say that makes your
No.
life easier. I was not intending
No,
that at all.
absolutely
I
not.
just wanted to clarify that. And
We're just
I'll
talking
see
that we
you.
eat too much and we,
Yeah, I'm a little chubby. So
no, you're not.
but
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you said that.
just wanted to clear that up real fast.
Yeah, absolutely. So he pulls the lever. They go into what I believe is the most interesting room in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan asked what this
be.
place. Yeah. Obi-Wan asked what this place is, and the girl, her name's Talia. I'm not sure.
It takes me a few viewings to get names locked in.
Tala.
I'm not gonna lie. Takes me a
Tala.
little bit.
I have Tala written down here. So she says we have safe houses throughout the galaxy, trying to link the systems. Some call it the path. That's a capital P for path.
Mhm.
You're not the first Jedi to come through here. It all leads to Jabim. And from there, we give them new identities and get them out. There's a lot of good people risking their lives out there. So that's really cool. This is like an underground railroad type system for Jedi and Force sensitive people.
Yeah, I love it.
I love it too.
Yeah. It's just fascinating. It's just a whole new door that's opened up on this whole new chapter of the galaxy. Like I want to know who
been
did
in
this
there
first, who's all gone through, who's all helping out. Like
we know some people.
Yeah. Maybe let's just press on. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
So there is a ton of Easter eggs in this room, and I think that's why it's like the most interesting room in Star Wars to me, because like there's probably a lot of history in this room. There's some things that we probably have not found out yet.
Yeah.
That haven't been translated. It was really hard to see all the Arabesh, which is the alphabet in Star Wars, and see that clearly, but I'm sure somebody will get all of it.
Yeah.
But there's Arabesh writing all over the wall, like messages almost. Now, there are 3 Jedi names on the wall, and I want to give a shout out to Jordan Macian at Cinelex. He spotted these 3 names, and they are from the old EU, the Legends material of Star Wars, and they are Jin Atlas, Roganda Ismarin, and Valen Hasalon. Now, in the EU, Jin was a Jedi who had a major disagreement with the Council, and he went off to create his own sect of Jedi, which is a very interesting concept.
Yeah, it is.
And I want more of that anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be cool.
It's like the 2 popes thing, but with Jedi.
Yes. Yeah. So he in the EU, that's what he did. Roganda was a female Jedi that was captured by Inquisitors. Yes, there were Inquisitors in Legends. She became a concubine to Palpatine and one of the hands of Palpatine, like Mara Jade, who ended up becoming Mara Jade Skywalker. What's really interesting is her son became Lord Nax in the Yuzan Vong book series. Basically, this is like a horrible creation Palpatine and his hands were creating.
Yeah.
That was like this dark side creature. Like literally he had lightsabers coming out of his elbows, out of his kneecaps. Everything was like lightsabers.
Yeah, he was just made of lightsabers.
Basically. I do want to say it's interesting because we get a line here in just a second that the children that the Empire find that are Force sensitive, they don't know what happens to them. That might be a little hint right there.
Maybe.
That they're turning them into monsters, kind of. Finally, Valen is the father of Corran Horn, whom there was a boy named Corran in the last episode who went to Corellia. Corran is from Corellia. It seems like those 2 things are connected. Really, really cool. I love that. So little Easter eggs. So back to the dialogue of the episode. Leia asks, Were they all Jedi? And Tala answers, not all. These days, the Empire hunts anyone who's force sensitive, even children. And Leia asks, what happens to them? And Tala says, we're not sure. No one ever sees them again. And Obi-Wan takes a closer look at the wall and says, Quinlan was here.
Yeah, Quinlan Voss. If you
go.
don't know who Quinlan Voss is, we talked about him a little bit on the episode we did where we kind of ran down all of the people we know for sure made it out of Order 66. So he is a survivor, and it seems like from what she says here, like maybe he's still in the picture, like coming back and helping, and like, and that's a perfect role for him. That's exactly what he would be doing. Like, yeah, I hope he shows up. Do you think it might happen?
No, I don't think we'll see him. But again, just kind of like with the line about Kenobi's brother, and these hints and Easter eggs, it's like the door is open now.
Right.
Like there's potential for stories down the line with that. Yeah. Now, here's my question for you, Mac. Tala smiles and says, yeah, he helps out now and again, like he's still active, smuggling younglings. Number one, Quinlan's alive right now, but what if he smuggled Grogu?
Yeah, it could totally be. And that would be such a cool connection. It would give him like a big prominent role in like the overall story, you know, kind of take him from more of a like a B-side character to kind of having a big role in the big story. And I would love that. That'd be so cool. And I want Sal Prowse to play it.
Me, same. We love Sal from the Rogue Rebels podcast. Make sure you check them out. It's a family who podcast together, and it's amazing.
We love
Obi-Wan. That. Yep. Obi-Wan smiles at the thought of Quinlan alive, and I do too, helping. And he turns his eyes back to the writing, and Leia asks what it says, and he answers, only when the eyes are closed can you truly see. And Leia says, see what? And Obi-Wan says, the way.
This is the way.
Do 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 do. I love that. So that's something maybe Quinlan said a lot with Obi-Wan. Now in the old Legends stuff, the old expanded universe, there was like a rivalry, and well, that's still kind of in canon too. There's like a rivalry between Quinlan and Obi-Wan. They were kind of frenemies a little bit. So that's something probably he has heard Quinlan say before. Maybe it's a common Jedi saying. So it's just really cool because like I feel like this reignites Obi-Wan's like, I need to get back in this. I've been gone too long.
Yeah. It's like
Quinlan's helping.
Rival. Yeah, he's in the fight. He's actively doing things despite the danger, and that's cool. And that's like the perfect kind of continuing that rivalry thing, right? He wouldn't. There's like an aspect of that where he doesn't want to get shown up, you know?
Yes,
like, and my rival's out here doing stuff. I don't want to.
That's very Obi-Wan too. Like that is a very Obi-Wan thing. Now, I forgot to mention, she mentions Jabim, getting into Jabim. That is also an old EU thing. That is from the old 2002, 2003, and 4, I think, Clone Wars comics. Before the Clone Wars series even came out, there was this huge campaign that Obi-Wan and Anakin were a part of on that planet. And so it seems like they're kind of bringing that into canon now, which is very interesting. Like this show is doing some very interesting things with canon of like kind of bringing in some things and changing things. And I'm here for it. I kind of like it.
We're along for the ride. I mean, it's nice to just kind of be wondering and guessing about all that, you know?
Yeah, it's nice not to know everything all the time. It's nice to kind of be surprised, I think. So then suddenly there's a knock at the door and it's stormtroopers. Ned goes to answer the door, which is by the way, Ned is a great droid name.
It's so good. And he's such a good droid. Like
yeah, he is. He really is. They announce that they need to search the shop because there's the Jedi that has been seen around the camp, and they try to get answers out of Ned. And behind his back, Ned holds onto a sledgehammer.
Yeah,
he's a good droid.
Space sledgehammer. You know, it does even more damage than a sledgehammer. No, he's perfect. I mean, and like it seems like he's maybe done this before. This might be kind of a set protocol they've got. Like. that hammer probably doesn't leave too far from the door, you know?
Yeah. So finally, he steps aside after the troopers realize that he can't speak, and Tala excels and then speaks to the pilot on the comlink, and she begins changing out of her uniform into civilian clothes, which, like, at first I was thinking, oh, she was dressing up as an Imperial. No, she's actually an Imperial officer who on the side is doing this.
Yeah, which is so cool.
Yeah.
It just shows that there's a lot of different ways to be heroic in the Star Wars galaxy, you know. And
Yeah.
we like, so Lost Stars is a book by Claudia Gray, really excellent, but it gives you kind of the like a glimpse into the mind of somebody who's actually getting into the Empire for good reasons, right? However misguided, like it's, you know, with the intention of getting into the Empire and changing it from within, and
Yeah.
you know, making it what you want it to be, and that kind of thing. So I like when we explore just different ways that kind of like heroic spirit can come out in Star Wars.
Yeah, it's really cool. So Leia asks if it's worth it, pretending all the time. And Tala says yes, if it can help people. And then she puts a gun belt on, and Leia asks if she can teach her how to shoot. And Obi-Wan pulls her to the side to get ready, and Tala remarks how Leia will make a good fighter one day, and Obi-Wan agrees with her.
You'll have no idea.
Yeah. And Tala says that she's joined up, when she joined up with the Empire, it stood for something, but she realized what they were, and she made some mistakes. And Obi-Wan says that everyone has made mistakes, and Tala is shocked that Obi-Wan Kenobi could make mistakes. And then we learn her name is officially Tala. That's where she introduces herself.
Yeah.
And then she opens a doorway to a tunnel, but before they can enter, Obi-Wan feels something in the Force and becomes unsteady on his feet. Like he can't even stand upright. And it's really cool. Like this thing is developing in him, because like we see this, of course, in A New Hope when Alderaan is destroyed. But I like this because we never really saw this played out in anything before except A New Hope.
Right. Just like the ability to just like sense, and like the kind of the physical impact it has on him. You can tell that he did what he said he did, and like really studied Alec Guinness.
Yes.
Like,
oh, for sure. You can tell that a lot in this episode.
Yeah. Did his homework for sure.
For sure. So he rushes back to the door to look outside, and the Empire is there in full force. There's people screaming. The Inquisitors are there, but so is someone else.
Yeah.
And we hear Darth Vader's menacing breathing, and a shadow of Vader crosses the buildings, and the fifth brother bows his head as Darth Vader steps onto the street, and he walks slowly, terrifying. His helmeted head swivels from house to house, and Obi-Wan is like watching, and you can see the anxiety, the panic in his face. Yeah. And so Obi-Wan sends Leia back, and back on the street, Vader stops and he turns his head. Obi-Wan inches back towards the door, and then suddenly Vader reaches out to a random citizen and rips them out of their home with the Force.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah. So in this scene, and you'll get to it, but later on, he's also like dragging people across the street and like purposefully like exposing people that are hiding, and like he's being like cruel to people who were not trying to fight him, you know? And this is really the first time we've gotten a glimpse into that. It's scary. Like Vader is a bad dude.
And it's like the ultimate selfishness. He's not doing it just to hurt them, but it's like to draw Obi-Wan out. Yeah. And it's like he doesn't care about them at all. They're just things to get Obi-Wan out, because all he cares about is killing Obi-Wan.
Right. I mean, I think he latches on to Obi-Wan's presence very faintly at first, and then he's doing all this stuff to just work up emotion in Obi-Wan, to like work up the fear, the concern, the panic, all of those things, so that he can sense him better. Like I think he's like tracking Obi-Wan's like,
oh my
like he can literally smell fear kind of thing.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Kylo Ren a little bit too, when he's like beating himself right before the fight. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's good. So he rips this guy out of his home. He's choking this father in front of his son. The man is just withering in midair. And then he throws the son, who rushes out, into the side of the house and snaps his neck in front of his mother.
Yeah.
That is like some of the darkest stuff we have seen in Star Wars.
It's scary, man. Vader is no joke. Like,
no,
this is truly the first glimpse you have into him as like an actual like evil character, you know?
Right. Yeah. So her husband and son are now dead. She's at both of their bodies. Even Reva, there's like a quick shot of Reva, and she's shocked by the brutality.
Yeah.
And so that's saying something. Right. So Obi-Wan urges Leia to go with Talia, and he makes Talia promise to get her to Alderaan, and he plans to lead them away. And Darth Vader continues his march down the road, and then he just pulls this random woman behind him through the dirt, and she's screaming behind him as he drags her body with the Force. And Obi-Wan exits the hut, and on the street, Vader rips away a crate to reveal a couple clutching each other, and he just stares at them for a moment. Part of me wonders if he's thinking about Padme and his relationship. I don't know.
I think that'd be the only thing that could get him to stop.
Yep, I agree.
I'd put my money on that.
So he's just kind of watching them for a moment, and Obi-Wan watches him from the outside, and then Vader whips his head around, but Obi-Wan's gone. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like, I couldn't breathe in this moment.
I know.
Like, it was so tense.
Yeah, it's the scene is set up perfectly. I love us getting these like glimpses into like moody, broody Darth Vader. We're seeing him kind of, go off the rails a little bit. But then he, especially later in the episode, there's a lot of just like shots of kind of lingering on him, pondering and feeling, and I think that's important to put the emphasis on. Like, he's still going through a lot emotionally, like with his 180 turn and everything.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that towards the end. I definitely want to talk about that. So Obi-Wan's gone. Vader senses him, though. Like, he knows he's near, right? Like, Obi-Wan was just there. So he heads towards where he was, and from behind, Reva steps forward, and the fifth brother stops her. They're there to sweep the town, search for others. It's not their place to get involved in that. And so that's what they begin to do. They sweep the town as family members check on their dead loved ones. And then we cut to the mining site, the quarry, and Obi-Wan jogs through it, and he's glancing over his shoulder. But then he looks back, and there is Darth Vader blocking his path, and he ignites his red lightsaber. Wow.
Yep. I did not expect it.
No. I can't believe we're doing this.
We're doing this now. Okay.
So Obi-Wan takes out his own lightsaber. He's in a state of shock. You can see it on his face, and he looks around and then takes off running. He doesn't want any part of this fight right now. He's not ready, to do it, right?
Yeah.
Vader turns off his saber as Obi-Wan disappears into the rest of the quarry, and Obi-Wan is searching for an escape route when he hears Vader's voice for the first time.
Yep.
You cannot run, Obi-Wan. And that's what makes him ignite his blue blade for the first time, when he hears his voice.
Yeah.
Like, it scares him into igniting his lightsaber.
Yeah.
So he's looking for the source of the voice. The glow of his weapon is obscuring his vision. He can't see because it's so dark, and the light is kind of blinding him a little bit. And then gradually emerging from the shadows, Darth Vader is there, and Obi-Wan points his saber defensively at Darth Vader, and Obi-Wan asks, "What have you become?" And Darth Vader says, "I am what you made me."
Man,
chills.
Oh, that's the only time that Anakin has been sassier than Obi-Wan as well. But it's also just spot on and
wow,
poignant,
It is literally your worst nightmare has manifested. You have created your own worst nightmare, and there he is.
All that guilt and shame you've been feeling for the past 10 years, good. It's deserved. This is your doing. It's the most impactful thing he could have said.
Oh my gosh. Obi-Wan don't want none. He disengages and tries to run away again. And then back in the mining camp, everyone from the town is rounded up in the middle of it. And Ned B exits the maintenance shop. But Reva notices where he came out of. And so she enters the shop. In the tunnels, Leia pleads to Talia to go help Obi-Wan. And then in the shop, Reva is snooping around. And she knows what this is. Like, she starts to get a sense of like, okay, I know what's going on here. And then she notices a secret door. Back in the quarry, Obi-Wan is just strolling. And I'm like, run, dude. Like, what are you doing? You need to get out of there. And I think he thinks he's lost Vader. But then suddenly the lightsaber tool is on. Vader attacks out of nowhere. Very like Empire Strikes Back when he like him and Luke.
Exactly. When he's like he'll kind of like retract into the shadows and like come out behind you, and very much the same kind of strategy. And let's keep going. I'll save what I'm going to say for later.
Vader attacks, forcing Obi-Wan to defend himself, and I just really love this because it shows how powerful Darth Vader is. It's not like a beautiful fighting style like Darth Maul or Count Dooku, this elegant thing. This is just pure
brute force, hatred manifested into physical action. That's what he's doing. Just like mad swings. He's only using one arm this whole time. And later, like they lock sabers, and we see Obi-Wan is just like buckling under the weight of the attack, and Vader's using one arm.
Dude, it's so good.
Scary.
It's so Obi-Wan looks down at his hands, like he's shocked by the blows. Like he can't believe how powerful Darth Vader is. And Vader mocks him and says, "The years have made you weak." And then back in the tunnels, Talia looks back over her shoulders and Leia urges her to go. And in the shop, Reva finds a way into the safe house. And Talia tells Leia to keep running until she reaches the port. Back in the quarry, Vader knocks Obi-Wan down to his knees, like you said, with one hand. And as Obi-Wan tries to get back up, Vader throws him across the quarry with the Force. That's something like I never thought we would see this ever.
Right.
And Vader says, "You should have killed me when you had the chance." And Obi-Wan gets back up looking for a way out of this. And he quickly slashes a conduit and smoke billows out. And back in the shop, Reva enters the safe house and looks at the wooden walls. Now, this is a very interesting moment that if you're just watching, maybe you didn't notice this, but there's a lot going on here.
Yeah.
Reva studies the words and then reaches out to the Jedi symbol that's etched on the wall. Now, I do have a question here, and this thought occurred to me on the second watch. Is it possible she's been here before?
There's definitely a read there that works for sure.
Yeah, I could see like this is the first time she's ever been there. Obviously, she kind of had to look for things, but there's also like, of course, I think is indicating that she was once a Jedi for sure.
She knows the symbol. That's what we know for sure. She recognizes it. And there was more there than just like identifying that with your prey. There was personal reflection on that.
Like a sadness.
Right. Yeah.
Like regret.
Like a sense of loss. Yeah.
Yeah. So great facials there from Moses Ingram. And you can see she's really haunted by that image on the wall. And then in anger knocks over a table. Meanwhile, Leia runs as fast as she can, which is not very fast at all, as we know from the last two episodes.
Yeah.
Reva opens the tunnel door, taking a peek inside. And then back in the quarry, Obi-Wan just can't get away from Vader. And Vader collapses a whole canister of Ventrium to the ground and then lifts Obi-Wan into the air.
Yeah.
And there's nothing Obi-Wan can do. Like, he can't get free of it. He even drops his lightsaber. Then Darth Vader does something that completely shocked me. Like, I was like, I can't believe this is happening right now. He ignites it with his lightsaber, creating an inferno of flames, and the fire's reflecting off of his obsidian armor. And he says, now you will suffer, Obi-Wan. And then shockingly throws Obi-Wan into the fire.
Harrowing. This moment was, to use the oldest cliche in the book, it was like a car crash. It was just like, it was terrible to watch happen, but I could not look away if I tried, right? Just like,
I was so shocked. Like, this show is doing such a good job to shock me. Like,
yeah,
I thought I'd seen it all in Star Wars. Nope.
Right. Yeah, surprise is definitely still possible. We can talk about these shows like week to week for hours on end, and they can still do stuff that makes me go like, what? That's incredible. That's, yeah, but just like, I mean, this makes sense, right? This is exactly what Darth Vader would do. Like, he doesn't even follow through with it, because he's going to prolong Obi-Wan's suffering as long as possible. This is the first little taste of that revenge he's been dreaming of since he went in the suit, you know?
And it's so sad too. Like, when you think about the Clone Wars and Attack the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, and like, I just finished the novel Brotherhood that's about Anakin and Obi-Wan, and it's just like, oh man, to come to this, that's rough. That is rough.
Yeah. And it was just like, it was harrowing to watch. It was hard. That's some brutality that we are not accustomed to seeing in Star Wars.
No, not at all. And so he rides
I guess since Obi-Wan did for sure do that same thing to Anakin. I guess we have seen this exact thing, but it's a little different. It was a little different. The intentions behind it were completely different. I think that makes all the difference.
So he rides in agony as Vader drags him around in the fire. He doesn't just put him in the fire. He is moving him around in the Force with the fire. And Vader is relishing this as he says, your pain has just begun. But then from above, Tala appears on the mound overlooking the scene. Then with the Force, pushes Obi-Wan out of the fire and also puts out the flames in doing so. And Obi-Wan's right arm is very badly burned. And Vader orders the troopers to bring him Obi-Wan. Like you said, like, the torture is just getting started. This is not like I intended to kill you. No, this is just a taste, like you said.
Yeah, this is a preview.
Then Tala takes out a trooper going for Obi-Wan and then shoots a generator, reigniting the flames and cutting them off from Obi-Wan. And then Ned B bends down to collect Obi-Wan as the stormtroopers fire, and Darth Vader just watches. He does nothing, and their fire reflects in his mask. Now, could he have stopped Ned B from getting Obi-Wan? Yes.
Yeah.
But he didn't. Why did he not?
I think it's so. There's a few different things going on potentially, right? I think Vader is enjoying this game a little bit.
Cat and mouse type thing going on.
Yeah, and he knows that this is another way to prolong his torment by keeping, like, I think you look at Obi-Wan and what he's become from then, and you're like, oh, this is what being under, like in hiding on the run has done to you.
Right.
That's like, it's got to be your least favorite thing in the world. Let's prolong that suffering and intensify it. Like, you're not going to be on the run from me.
Right.
And then there's also always, hoping that he's going to lead somewhere else of interest.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah. Darth Vader
wants to know who are these people.
Exactly. Like, who's this little girl? What's going on there? Yeah, I mean, it's Darth Vader doesn't know anything about Luke and Leia, so he doesn't know in specific terms that that's what he's looking for. But I think ultimately that's what he's looking for. Whatever that thing that has brought Obi-Wan to these specific circumstances, that's what he's trying to uncover.
Yeah, and I think also, like, he might be just trying to take down the path, right? Like,
right.
Here's the network exposed. I can get all of them.
Yeah.
And Obi-Wan's going to lead me right to him. So I just love the shot of the flames in his, like, goggles, of Darth Vader's goggles. It is amazing. Vader turns, and then we're back in the mining camp, and the fourth sister informs that they've lost him. Back at the quarry, Tala examines Obi-Wan's burned body and tells Ned B to ready the transport because they have to get to Jabim. Back in the tunnels, Leia comes to the end to find Reva is already there. Now, some people had a problem with that because it didn't really show how did Reva get to the end when she was at the beginning. But I didn't really have a problem with it.
It's called filmmaking. You can cut stuff out. Like
yeah,
you can
we don't
actually
need to see
just
everything.
keep the exciting parts. And that's fine. That's not a plot hole. That's an editing choice.
Well, I also just assume like she realized where that tunnel was going and then she left and went to the end of it, like to the spaceport. Like, I'm just going to go, I know where this is leading to. And it's not that hard to beat Leia in a foot race, as we've seen in the show. Like,
she's supposed to be 10.
Like,
she got short legs.
Yeah. So like either Reva realized where this path was going or she took a different path. Like that tunnel system could like have several different, God bless you.
I am so sorry about that. I was trying to get to the mute button and everything.
Has that tunnel system could have several different tunnels in it too.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. That didn't really bother me, but it bothered some people, but not me. Reva says, "Don't be afraid. Come closer." And Leia asks, "Are you the one I'm supposed to meet?" And Reva says, "Unfortunately, they couldn't make it, but I'll take you from here." And then Leia sees a dead pilot on the ground, and we cut to black. End of episode.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So like I said at the beginning of this episode, it's really a tale of two episodes, right? Like when I was watching it and they were with Freck, the mole, I was thinking, oh, and I think part of in my brain, I was thinking, I can already hear people saying this is filler or something. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I was enjoying it, but like part of my enjoyment was like, oh, man, people are not going to like this one. But then all of a sudden, everything ramps up. I think it was really important to have those quiet moments leading into this because of how this ends.
Absolutely.
Great
you gotta
character
have space
work.
To do your yeah. The character work was fantastic. Performances were great all around. I think maybe the Kenobi was intended to be kind of the 7 to 8 episodes, and maybe these were 2 episodes that they combined into one.
Maybe, yeah.
And if they did, I love that choice. Like, because I think this episode was super solid. It gave us kind of that like midway point climax, right? And it is clear that like this is now the point where Obi-Wan's going to realize he's got to get it together. This is where he's going to start opening himself back up to the Force. We're going to get Qui-Gon, his advice and influence in the situation. This is kind of the point. Like, this confrontation would prove to him that like, oh, I have work to do. Like, I'm not ready to be what I need to be.
Yeah. Obviously, he's got to do some healing up. I don't think this is going to be the only confrontation between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan. This is kind of like a Rocky moment a little bit. Like he got beat, and now he's got to train to do it the right way next time.
Rocky is the perfect reference for that. That's exactly what this is. He did survive. Leia's okay for the moment, not super okay, but like alive. And then now he's got to rally, train up. We're going to get that training montage.
Maybe with Quinlan.
Maybe. Who knows?
That would be sweet.
Sal up there. I don't know. I'm like, every time I watch this show, I'm just more excited for what's to come. Not just because I'm loving it so much, but because like my expectations continue to just get blown out of the water.
Yes. Yeah. So I forgot to mention this, and I do want to mention it. There's a line in A New Hope, or maybe it's not. No, it's in Return of the Jedi when Luke is speaking to Darth Vader before they go up to the Death Star. Darth Vader says, Obi-Wan once thought as you did, but there's no, like, he basically says there's no hope for me. So I'm wondering where we're going. Is Obi-Wan going to make one last attempt to be like, you got to, you got to stop this. You got to come back to the light side. You have to do this. And then maybe by the end of it, he realizes, okay, we got to kill him. And that's why like he's so adamant about Luke killing Darth Vader, because
he's seemingly tried the alternative. Yeah,
exactly.
I think that's a great speculation on how things could go. We know that Star Wars loves to rhyme and everything like that. So
it seems like a rescue is coming too, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that means Leia might come into contact with Darth Vader, like we were speculating on the last episode. There might be a conversation between Leia and Darth Vader. They are familiar with each other at the beginning of A New Hope when they're first talking. It's not the first time they've ever talked to each other. You get that sense. So
they just don't know.
That.
Yeah.
They don't know the relationship.
No, they've been like, if they were on opposing sports teams, they've seen each other around the league, you know?
Exactly.
But that's the extent of it. So,
I'm interested to see how this goes. I think the way that they're going to play this off, the Inquisitors and the Empire, they're going to blame it all on Reva of like, she went rogue and stole Princess Leia, which is a huge political blunder, right? Like that's at this point in the Empire, there's still senators and there's still things going like that could cause a huge uprising. So they got to be careful. I think they're going to throw Reva under the bus.
Yeah. I can see that happen. I can see that happen for sure.
So I'm excited to see where it goes. It looks like we're going to Jabim. Maybe meet some rebel cells or at least Jedi sympathizers. And I can't wait to see what happens on part 4. And of course, we'll be here to cover it all. But before then, we want to hear what you guys think.
Absolutely.
So make sure you call into our voicemail hotline, which is 205-259-6675 to get your thoughts and theories on the podcast. Those episodes are so much fun.
I know. Yeah. So we hope to hear you then. But if we don't, we'll catch you in the next breakdown. And until then, keep the watch.